Hey there, Scorpio Ascendant. So this is the start of the forecast, taking you from the new moon in Virgo on the 23rd of August right the way through to the full moon in Pisces on the 7th of September. Now, that full moon in Pisces is actually the start of the next eclipse season. It's the total lunar eclipse. And it's super duper strong. It's full of intuition. It's also capturing the fact that Saturn has just retrograde back into Pisces, so there's this very strong sort of Pisces lesson that's coming up to be learned. And there's a lot of things happening in this 2 weeks, from new moon in Virgo, and that's the first of two new moons in Virgo, right the way through to the total lunar eclipse in Pisces. We've got 3 sign changes. So we've got Venus going into Leo, Mercury going into Virgo, and Saturn retrograding back into Pisces. So loads going on. There's some big squares and opposition, and a very miraculous sextile as well. So I'm going to pace you through this as best I can. Now, if your real interest is for the absolute minutiae in terms of the planetary perspectives, the planetary picture, you want to know loads about all the aspects, then I suggest you check out The Big Scoop, which is my forecast for all of the aspects, for all of the signs during this period. And you can see the link below in the description field, so check that out. But this is really a forecast for you as a Scorpio Ascendant person, to give you what you need to know in hopefully a really sort of digestible form. So let's see. Now, if you're new to this channel, hi, my name's Louisa Tanner Munson. And yeah, my goal here is, I think, to share astrology in such a way that you don't feel like you have no choice or no options. I think there are quite a few astrologers out there that are quite fatalistic, that say this is definitely going to happen, and that's really not my bag. That's not how I operate. So hopefully you'll find that this is giving you enough inspiration to be able to, you know, really rule this next 2 weeks in a great, liberated and free way. So as ever, I'm going to be using questions. I love questions, and my slides to get me through this. So I really see that we've got this purification energy, this breakthrough energy, and this inspiration energy. So the purification is the new moon in Virgo. The breakthrough is happening at the quarter point, like the halfway point actually, between the new moon and the full moon, the total lunar eclipse. And then the inspiration, I would say, is occurring at the time of the full moon in Pisces. Now, full moons are obviously very emotional affairs, and there is a flood of water, put it that way. So my overall sentiments for this 2 weeks is that this is where we clear the vessel, we let the cracks appear, and then we fill it in with divine waters. I since refined that in my head, like we might fill in the cracks with like our divine glue. And it reminded me of the sort of kintsugi story of filling in old cracked plates. It's a Japanese thing, filling in all the old cracks in plates and crockery with a gold paste to make them more divine, you know, that they look so much better when things have been cracked and worn, because that's when you really see the true purpose. So these are my 3 questions that I'm asking right now, and at the end I will come back to these questions for sure, and talk about how I think you're going to be doing that. So the first question is to do with the purification, the new moon, and that's, where in my life am I idolizing or polishing the surface of myself instead of healing the root? So I think it's often, and you'll notice this if you've got like a strong Virgo energy in your life. You know, Virgos are very good at looking neat and tidy, very, you know, they get everything looking fantastic. I'm not suggesting for a moment that they just are on the surface, but, you know, it's very easy to make things look really good with the Virgo energy. But this is really wanting us to get to the root of things in your life right now. The breakthrough, what old wounds may flare, and I say that quite purposefully because around the time of the midway point, Saturn is retrograding into Pisces, and also we've got this very strong and potent trine between Mercury and Chiron, which is very healing. So I do think old wounds may well flare up. And how can I respond with compassion rather than compulsion? How can you be kind to yourself would be my question. And then finally, how can I turn on a flood of emotions into inspiration instead of overwhelm? Lots of people get very overwhelmed at the time of the full moon, in particular, a really big one like a total lunar eclipse. Now, I'm going to bring up the charts, but just before I do and go further, I just want to say thank you to everybody that sponsors this channel, has sponsored this channel, or is sponsoring me via membership, which I use on school.com. So thank you so much. You really make a difference to my world. Thank you. So these are the two charts, and you'll see this is the new moon one. And you can see the new moon up here in the sign of Virgo, which for you as a Scorpio ascendant is entering into your 11th house. And then this is the chart for the full moon in Pisces, which is the total lunar eclipse. You can see all these very strong energies here. Yes, you can see by this point the moon has got round to the 5th house. So what we're playing with in this 2-week session, Scorpio, is a 5th and 11th house polarity. Now, I just want to say something, because I've also got Scorpio ascendant, but my chart, I don't look at my chart with a whole sign perspective, i.e., this is set up with a whole sign Western tropical model, which puts one sign in every house. But when I look at my birth chart, I've got Scorpio and Sagittarius in my first house. I use Placidus. And when you look at your birth chart, if you've done it, I'm sure you have, if you've got Scorpio and Sagittarius in your first house, then it's probably a good idea to also listen to the Sagittarius forecast. And between the two of them, you'll get a really sort of full idea of what's coming up for you. Anyway, let's carry on. So you'll see here I've highlighted in very sort of fluorescent colours this beautiful bright yellowy green, the 26th of August and the 31st. And the reason I've highlighted those, to me they are very special days in this 2-week schedule. First of all, on the 26th, we've got Venus in a trine. We might not see it here, but Venus is in a trine to both Saturn and Neptune. She's making an exact trine to both of them on that day. She's also making a sextile, and I've obviously forgotten to put in that little line there, but she would be making a sextile to Uranus too. And so Venus is obviously a planet of love and flow and good things and good expectations. I see her as being quite a lucky planet to be working with. And so she's working with Saturn and Neptune, which I think is absolutely going to be strengthening how you are organizing your life. Maybe there's a lucky break, something that needs to occur to be able to run your life a bit better. The 6th house here, where they currently both are, is very much to do with how you're running your life. So your job, how you get to work and stuff, your car, your money, your home, your routines, your fitness, your health. And so whatever you're working on around the 26th there's a lucky sort of flash of insight. And I say that because at the same time, Uranus is almost exactly in an exact sextile with Neptune. That's happening on the 29th. But to me, the 26th to 29th, or you could say the 26th to 31st, is a super great time. Now, we're in the waxing phase from the new moon to the full moon. And so to me, this is also saying that things are starting to speed up. The first few days after a new moon, we are maybe taking a little bit of time to warm up. We've planted seeds. We don't want to rush them. We don't want to overwater them or put too much light on them. We want them to grow roots. We want them to get a solid footing. But really from the 26th to the 31st, things are really starting to move beautifully and fast. And so we've got the 9th, the 8th and the 6th houses working really well together. And to me, this is highlighting that, the way you're running your life and also the way you're processing family stuff, maybe family trauma, but also thinking about family money and how you share things with other people. And then how these are showing up in your life to give you more freedom. I actually think this is going to help you to ease off and feel much better about yourself. And then on the 31st of August, we've got this trine between Mercury and Chiron. Now, it's not drawn in because this is the new moon chart, and by the time we get to the full moon chart, you know, Mercury's over here. But in between the two of these charts, Mercury will be exactly in a trine with Chiron. And that's going to be bringing up a lot of really detailed information, very quick thoughts, quick energy. Maybe there's a beautiful self talk between you and your body, whereby you're really, really understanding what's going on, what's at the heart of the matter. And of course, this is what I've said is a breakthrough point. If we go back here, oops, you know, this is the breakthrough point. And so to me, whatever you've been creating, it's either going really, really well and you're starting to sort of pick up speed, and things are, you know, I think things like they grow, and then maybe they need to like get turbocharged in a particular direction, or they kind of burst. You know, they need to be able to move forwards. And to me, this is like the barrier before you start to zoom forwards. You know, this is exactly halfway through, and you know, straight after Saturn goes retrograde into Pisces. And this is going to be interesting. And I am actually talking about Saturn in Pisces for your ascendant sign in a separate video, so I won't go too much into that. But if you keep watching at the end of this video, you'll automatically see it come up as the next video you might want to watch. So stay tuned if that's what you fancy. But yeah, to me, this is a breakthrough where you might have a lot of new intel about yourself. You might realize what's been holding you back. You might realize where you've limited yourself or sabotaged yourself. And it's funny because like when you see these things, you wonder, how did I not see that before? And yet we can't see what we're not ready to see. But you know, the 31st, the 1st, to me, these are times when you really are ready. So again, this goes back to how well you're sowing the seeds of sacredness and purity in your life. You know, this new moon is really sort of promising us wherever we focus our attention with integrity, authenticity, and with a feeling of purity, like we want to cleanse something, we want to purge something, we want to really release our old identity about an issue, the more we are coming into ourselves and the more breakthroughs we're going to have. So this is quite the journey. Now, Venus going into Leo is definitely worth considering for a moment. She's been in the sign of Cancer for a while, and so our attachments have been very much around our family. When she goes into Leo, we are going to get a lot more dramatic and a lot more showy with our emotions. We might feel a lot more confident, a lot warmer, like we might warm up to people. It's a great time actually to meet up with people and connect at a deeper level. Actually, not a deeper level necessarily, but connect just because it's great to connect, you know, from a place of simplicity, from a place of warmth, you know, where things don't really need explanations. It is just what you do. So I love the fact that she's going into Leo. The 27th does look a little bit eggy with Venus going into an opposition with Pluto, just FYI. If you've got anything really important around that time, be aware of little control mechanisms in place, things that might stop you in your tracks and sort of question if, you know, the person around you is trying to be possessive. To me, it just shows a little power struggle. So that's just something to watch out for. Seeing as Pluto is one of your ruling planets, I would definitely be aware of that. But anyway, I want to focus now more on the sort of transformation, you know, from the new moon here to the full moon here, because as you can see, it looks really quite ferocious, these oppositions. So here's where we're moving to, and this is where the sort of flood of insight is coming in. You know, this I would say is the sacredness, and this is the vision. You know, we are coming into a time of sacred visioning. So as the moon gets closer and closer to the sign of Pisces, and as the energy builds, as it does, you know, as we're coming up towards a full moon, no less, you know, obviously a total lunar eclipse. This is going to be bringing a lot of birthing energy to you. The fifth house is all about birthing things that you're passionate about. It's also very much about new relationships. If you're looking for a new relationship, this could be a fantastic sign, you know, because you do have the North Node going through your fifth house, which is all about romance and new starts. So this is about new starts that you're passionate about, new starts that you might be sexual about. These are also new birthing starts, you know, if you're wanting to start a family, or if you're wanting to get a good clearing at home with your children, for instance. But this is also about other things that you're birthing that bring you joy. So it might be the start of a really important hobby, or it might be the start of where you're trying to birth income or influence because of something that you love doing, that you're really passionate about. So to me, this is a really beautiful total lunar eclipse. And so my message is really quite clear. You know, this could absolutely send you into a very watery and emotional kind of wreck energy, which a full moon in Pisces can definitely do. And it can definitely bring up some turbulence in terms of our emotions. However, it's also riding the wave of your consciousness. It's also riding the wave of your psyche, your intuition. And to me, if you're well practiced in this, if you're well practiced in feeling intuitive waves, and feeling into your creativity, and focusing your energy towards things that are creative, that are a blessing, that are a passion, and that are lifting you up, you'll be redirecting this flood of energy, this flood of awakening energy with this full moon in Pisces. But you're focusing it somewhere very sort of practical. And so my advice is to get focusing on it right now. So for instance, if at the time of this sacred new start, the new moon in Virgo, you're thinking, okay, in this month ahead, and indeed up until the 21st of September, when we've got this solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, you might be thinking, right, I'm getting ready to sort out my friendships, my networks, because this is the 11th house. This is also a place of collaboration. This is a place of the law of attraction. This is a place of working with the universe, working with universal laws. So you're not fighting, you know, with your ego, I must do it like this, you know, like the robots that we've programmed to be. You might be thinking, well, actually, I know what we're told works, but actually when I'm out and about, this is how I see it works. I really know that life works with a different set of rules to the ones we've been told about. And so I really see that this new moon is connecting us to life's rules, to universal I don't want to say doctrines, but universal ideas. And so if you're somebody who works in mantra and attraction and intention, if you're very intentional and you're getting your body in that intention as well, because remember, Virgo is very much about the body. It's not you know, it's not, I mean, it's quite a mental sign because it's ruled by Mercury, but it's very much about getting healthy and getting into a beautiful bodily state, noticing, having awareness in your body, I guess is what you could say. If you are creating a beautiful sense of intentions, a vision for yourself during this time, then as you're coming up towards the full moon in in Pisces, in your fifth house, what I would say is whatever you're putting your intentions into, start to think, okay, how can I get creative with this? How can I get loving with this? How can I get passionate with this? So you've got your vision, but the next thing to sow in is the energy, the emotion, the psyche, the almost like your cosmic force field. I don't know how else to say it. Your aura, your chi. So I would, like in between the Virgo and the Pisces, I think I would be working with my body, using like doing like yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or swimming, doing something with the body every day, so that you're feeling in the flow of being like an actual human in a physical body. And also working with your intuition while you're doing it. So maybe asking yourself big stretching questions, visualizing your goal as, you know, every day as you're being physical. I think all of those things are almost like a sacred way of addressing your goals and materializing your vision in a beautiful way. So as you're coming up closer and closer to this very strong Pisces full moon and eclipse, I think if you're feeling emotions getting in the way, that's your That's your cue that you're going into the drama of the full moon, the drama of the eclipse, and it's time to just sort of take some time out, sit yourself down and have a chat with yourself. Tune into your body. That's the best way. If you're talking to your body, if you're actively in your body, you can ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling it like this? When did I last feel like this? Is there a connection? Really start listening to your body, because in between this breakthrough point when the moon's in Sagittarius and Mercury is in a trine with Chiron, we've got some other big things going on. So Mercury's going into Virgo, so that's really bringing the communication back to your body. That's great. That's a big thumbs up. We've also got Mercury in a square to Uranus and Jupiter in the exact trine to the North Node. So Jupiter trine the North Node, I see as being a great energy. Jupiter is in the 9th house, encouraging you to expand beyond where you've seen your life. That's a great energy. And it's absolutely connecting you into what you feel powerful and passionate about. So if you're starting your day from a place of how can I feel passionate about my life, that's a great thing to hold in your mind's eye, or to hold in your body as a feeling, as an expectancy as you go about your day. I am about the passion in my life. I am oriented to expanding passionately. If you can think that and hold that with you, that's brilliant preparation. Mercury square Uranus is going to be interesting because Uranus is in the 8th house, which can be very revelatory, especially in the early days when he changes signs. It can bring up feelings of insecurity quite easily. It can really show you where you might be the odd one out in your family. It might show you where you've been scapegoated or black sheeped, because Uranus in this part of I would say the 8th house has a lot to do with consensus, family consensus, wealth consensus. It's a place where it's very difficult to be individual. And when you are individual in your 8th house, it often shows where you've been punished for it and the judgments that have come up. So I do think you're going to be very well aware of these with Uranus here. And in the square to Mercury in the 11th house, which is really, really social, you might be very well aware of the difficulties of really being yourself while being part of more of a global vision, being part of something to do with your friends, something that you're creating. Maybe you found your tribe, and also experiencing where you felt odd. It's like you feel odd in one way, you can't express yourself, and at the same time you're really wanting to connect with a group. Can you see the tension there? So this full moon could really, really bring that up. Just before the full moon, Mars and Jupiter go into a square, and you'll see this here. So Jupiter is all sort of expansive in the 9th, and Mars in the 12th is really possibly bringing you crashing down and saying, well, how are you going to do that? The past hasn't quite worked out that way. Mars will really go through all of your unconscious memories and really pull those up. So I do think we are really pulled in our psyche. The 12th house and the 8th houses are very secret parts of our chart. They really show our unconscious behaviors and the stuff that we've felt historically. So I do think we are being spun quite a bit leading up to this full moon in Pisces, which, like I said, is this eclipse point. Final thing then is, at the time of the eclipse, we are also in a T-square. And your T-square is going from Chiron in the 6th, Mars in the 12th, and Jupiter in the 9th. To me, Chiron in the 6th really shows where we can get burnt out. And so I do think around the time of the full moon, if so much has been coming up, we are feeling a bit burnt out. There's another reason why, right from the word go, the new moon in Virgo, I really suggest you get into your body and you relate to your body and you talk to yourself. And if you feel a slight discomfort, you're asking yourself, Where did that come from? When did that start? Did it start after I had a conversation with that idiot that I work with, or whatever it was? But get really cognizant of what's going on for you in your experience, because it's that information that's going to help you. You might find that something that's been bugging you on quite a regular basis, if you sit in that part of your body, like obviously you have to use your imagination and start to have a conversation, or start to imagine healing light coming into that area, and start working with your body, however your body is suggesting it. The body is very, very psychic. When you start tuning into your body, you'll notice that things start popping in your mind really quickly. Once that body feels like you're listening to it, it's going to come up so much faster than ever before. And so, yeah, I think the more in touch you are with your body right from word go, the more you're going to be able to create from this global vision that you're wanting to bring about, and also your very, very deep and passionate views, the things that really want to lift you up. So I do think this is a time of deep, deep change. This is your sacred vision that we're talking about, and this is the gateway to the eclipse. So final thoughts then. Let's go back to these questions. Where in my life am I idealizing or polishing the surface instead of healing the root? By the way, when I do these questions and go back, it always really puts me on the spot. So where do I think that you are polishing the surface and not going to the root? Well, that's interesting. I would say actually, with Jupiter in the 9th and Venus currently in the 10th, it's very easy to just consider the surface level of what the external world is seeing, but not the internal. So for instance, before you go out, you do your hair and your makeup. I'm not trying to be gender specific there. You might be somebody who wears makeup, and you might not be a feminine person. Sorry if I'm 50, so excuse me if I get my terms wrong and stuff and cause offense. I'm not meaning to, but Venus and Jupiter in the 9th and 10th is really kind of showing what externally you're showing. So you leave the house looking a certain way, but like, and people get to see you, but they don't really get to see you. They don't actually get to see your house. They don't get to see your underwear drawer. They don't get to see if you've got dust under your bed. To me, you might be really dealing with your external appearances, but not dealing with what's going on right down here. And you've got Pluto in the 4th, really showing that there's this real need for a deep transformation. Pluto, I mean, he kills things off so that they can come back to life. Pluto is a great composter. You put all your old bits in, the things that you don't need, the things you're recycling, you put it into a compost bin, and over time it all sort of decays down, and then you get this lovely rich soil or whatever it is that you're trying to create. And Pluto is like that. He's working with everything that's outdated in your life so that you can grow something new from it. And of course, if you're just polishing out here, you're not attending to what's down here. And so my advice here is, this is a very sacred new moon. And the energy of it is very, very strong. If you're only dealing externally, you're not going to be cleaning up your life. And the best use of this energy is to clean up your whole life, not just your appearance, but everything, like how you are at home. I mean, although this is not spring, it might be in a different part of the world. I'm guessing it will be if you're in Australia. We're coming up for spring. You might want to start doing a spring clean. So go through your cupboards, make sure everything is just perfect. Like, treat your whole life as you would look after a small baby. Really look after the environment for yourself. What old wounds may flare, and how can I respond to them? I think around this time, your old wounds to do with creating with other people versus doing it on your own are going to flare up. The 5th and the 11th really shows, I think, and especially seeing as the North Node is down here in your 5th, I think you're very well practiced at knowing how to collaborate with other people when you choose to. Obviously Scorpios don't want to do that too much because they are so powerful in themselves. I do think the new moon in Virgo is encouraging you to sort of collaborate with other people, because it's time to be stronger together. And yet around the time of the total lunar eclipse, you're actually thinking, do you know what? It's much easier when I do everything on my own, because I know how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it. I can work in the middle of the night if I need to. And it's much harder to do things with other people, because you have to hold yourself to a much higher level of integrity. It takes a lot. You have to really go into trust. And, you know, with Uranus going through your 8th house at the moment, you're probably having some surprises with people that you've trusted. And, you know, Scorpio isn't the most trusting sign. They're a sign that's very loyal, but because they're so loyal, they expect everyone else to be like that, and not everyone works in the same way. So this, I think, is probably the old wound that's coming up. And how can you respond with compassion rather than compulsion? I would say it's just to recognize that when you let other people off the hook, you're also letting yourself off the hook. You know, if you're judging everyone to the standards that you've got, you're not giving yourself space to not be perfect. And so my advice here is give yourself the space to make mistakes, just like everyone else does. And I think when you do that, you'll feel it's a lot easier to work with people, and that you get the best out of the people that you are collaborating with. And then how can I turn the flood of emotions into inspiration instead of overwhelm? Okay, I think that's a bit easier actually, because, you know, Pisces is one of those signs that you really get on well with. And Jupiter, in his current position, is also very well aligned to your rising sign. And so I think you can, the more you are designing, doodling, keeping a notebook with you, noticing all of your thoughts, writing them down, sending yourself little text messages. I mean, I'm forever setting alarms with little messages so that I remember to put one of my little thoughts into a new document. You know, I think the more you can just be busy with your creative energy, the more it's going to flow. And it could get a little out of hand. And so the other way that I would say to avoid this overkill is to go into some kind of meditation where you give yourself a break, and kind of like clean it, you know. So like this energy is absolutely sort of bringing you into a point of creation. This is a sacred vision energy this next 2 weeks that you're dealing with. But when it gets too much, I think a clearing meditation would be quite helpful. So one that I'm doing a lot right now, and I've got Scorpio rising as well, is I'll take in a deep breath, and I imagine for a moment that I'm stepping into a white wall, or stepping into like a white light. And in that moment, I feel like my whole body just disappear. It's like as I come into this white light, I feel like every part of myself just disintegrates, almost like I'm burnt up, you know, but not in a painful way, not in a horrible way. That's just how I'm perceiving it. But I have this moment where I breathe into myself, and I feel like I'm returning to source, or I'm leaving my body. I have this moment of kind of leaving my identity, and I do it with my breath. And then as I breathe the other way, I imagine coming back into myself. But I do that for about 5 minutes, and I find that really helpful. It gives me access to a bit more space between my actual reality and then me not existing. It's like I'm blinking in and out of reality again and again and again in my mind's eye. That's how I do it. Currently, I put that in because I'm very changeable, but you know, something like that clears the energy just for a second, so that you get a feeling of space just for a moment, and maybe you can expand the space as much as you need. You know, some people might imagine their body getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until all of the different aspects of their life are like in their body rather than out of their body, so that you just feel like everything is contained, and you feel so big that like all of these other things just seem so sort of minuscule. But the more you can play with space and time, using the power of your mind and your intention, I think the better off you'll be. So there you go, Scorpio. I hope that's helpful for you, guiding you through the next 2 weeks through this gateway to the eclipse season, you know, with this sacred vision that's coming in from the sacred new moon to the visioning total lunar eclipse. So I'm going to leave that there. If you've enjoyed this and you would love more of this kind of guidance, then you're really welcome to join my membership. All the details are below, but that's where I share my deeper, more regular updates, Monday to Friday updates, and then love and money updates too. And if you'd like to go even deeper into sort of a personal insight, based on your own chart, then just invite me to work with you. My diary is online. There are links in the description box below. Just invite me to work with you, book in my diary, and we'll take it from there. I would absolutely love to work with you. So sending you loads and loads of love. Take care and catch up with you all soon. Bye for now.